I didn't buy a car, I bought a mirror. And that mirror cost me exactly $50,000, plus 7 years of my absolute prime. At 26, I walked into that dealership with a hunger for recognition that was practically eating me alive. I was tired of being just another invisible gear in the corporate machine, another face in the elevator. I wanted the world to see me before I even stepped out of the driver's seat. I wanted the sleek, aggressive lines of a German performance coupe and the low, predatory hum of its engine to announce my arrival. I finally made it. I used to drive past the glass skyscrapers downtown at night just to see my reflection in the windows. A man sitting low in a cockpit of leather and carbon fiber, finally looking like he belonged among the giants. The salesman, a man named Gary with a perfect porcelain smile that reached his eyes but never stayed there, saw my insecurity from across the lot before I even parked my old dented sedan. He didn't see a customer. He saw a target. He didn't talk about debt, and he certainly never mentioned depreciation. Instead, he talked about presence. He talked about what I deserved after years of grinding in a windowless cubicle. He made me feel like the car wasn't a purchase, but a crown for my hard work. When I finally signed for that $50,000 beast, I felt a rush of adrenaline so powerful it completely masked the metallic sound of the trap snapping shut around my ankles. In that moment, I was the king of the asphalt. I felt like I had finally outrun my past. But Gary wasn't my ally. He was a fisherman, and I had just swallowed the hook, line, and sinker. The real execution didn't happen on the shiny, sun-drenched sales floor. It happened in a small, windowless office tucked away in the back. They called it the finance room. It's the place where the magic is stripped away and replaced by the cold, suffocating reality of the contract. Gary handed me off to a man in a sharp gray suit who spoke in low, confidential tones. The kind of guy who makes you feel like you're sharing a secret to beat the system. He told me he'd fought the lenders to find me the best possible rate. He lied. The bank had actually approved me at 5%, but he told me 6.5%. To my 26-year-old brain, 1.5% felt like a rounding error, a few cents a day. But to the dealership, that tiny gap was a $3,000 kickback paid directly to them. Money stolen from my future before I even turned the key. Then came the protection, a $1,200 extended warranty wrapped so tightly into the monthly payment that it felt invisible. They don't sell you engineering in that room. They sell you safety while they slowly bleed you dry. By the time I drove off the lot, I was already underwater. The new car smell wasn't luxury. It was the scent of $5,000 in hidden profits evaporating from my net worth. 3 years later, the car was no longer a symbol of success. It was just a demanding, expensive machine. But the debt was a living thing. It was a parasite that lived in my chest every morning. I was working 60 hours a week at a job that was slowly killing my soul. But I couldn't leave. I couldn't quit. I had become a high-earning slave. My $800 monthly payment, combined with $500 for insurance and $300 for gas and maintenance, was a $1,600 a month tax on my own ego. I was working 3 weeks out of every month just to fund the vehicle that carried me to the office I hated. I started watching Pete in his 10-year-old dented sedan. I used to pity him. Now, I envied him with a bitterness that kept me awake. Pete owned his car. He owned his time. He could walk away from a bad boss whenever he wanted. I just owned a depreciating piece of metal that kept me tethered to a desk. My car could do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, but it made sure I went nowhere but the office and back. The system doesn't want you to be wealthy. Truly wealthy people are dangerous. They are independent and quiet. No, the system wants you to look wealthy, because a man who is drowning in monthly payments is a man who is incredibly easy to control. He will take the heat from his boss without talking back, and he will keep running on the treadmill because he is terrified of what happens to his image if he stops. I bought a car to find freedom, but for 7 long years, it ensured I stayed exactly where I was. I was a king in a steel cage of my own making. I finally realized that this was more than a loan. It was a death pledge. And by the time most people realize the difference between being rich and simply looking rich, it's already too late.